weather with Diane Oxbury.
Well, we're looking at a mixed day once again. Sunny spells and scattered showers, but the good news is there won't be anywhere near as many showers as there have been recently, and the ones that do turn up won't be quite as heavy. So I think the sunshine will end up winning through, and in the brighter spots through the afternoon with a westerly wind, 17 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones.
0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Not much of a show, is it, really? Same here. Yeah. No, it's not. Dear God. Yeah, what sort of an act is that? What do you do? Well, I glue me willy to hoovers. Oh, really? That'll catch on. We'll have that then. Is it variety? No, it's always an hoover. I have today's my last day. I'm kind of D-mob happy. I'm only away for a fortnight, but I'm D-mob happy. And, well, I've got a treat for you in the next hour. When I say the next hour, I don't mean within the next hour. I mean beyond the next hour to the hour that follows. Yeah, just after 1 o'clock, I've got a treat for you. I have. I'm not telling you other vacuum cleaners are available. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't want to get in trouble. As indeed are other very, very sticky substances. Where was I? before I was so rudely interrupted. Yes. Yeah, I've got a treat for you. Just after the 1 o'clock thingies. Yeah, well, I say a treat. You may not see it as a treat when you get it, but there you are. Yeah, I've not enjoyed this particular pleasure. No, not the dwarf one. I've not enjoyed the particular pleasure I'm going to share with you just beyond the 1 o'clock news for a number of decades. In fact, getting on for a quarter of a century, which is more scary than you think. Right, where was we? We was here, and we still are. The contact details, let's do that first, because frankly, we might as well. Telephone number, if you want to join us, 0161 228 2255. Text number, 07786 206 951. Email address, radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk. So that's it. If you want to join us, you can. It's dead easy. You just do one of those things, and it will, well, it'll see you through. Yeah. I never knew this existed. I'm stunned. I'm minding my own business, and I hear this. I never knew. All the jocks will go mad, but I never knew. An ancient fortified wall which formed the northwest frontier of the Roman Empire was named a World Heritage Site today by UNESCO. Now, what are you thinking? If I said... Now, listen, it's Scottish. Now, what's it called? I'll read it to you again, because I think you'll be making exactly the same mistake that I did through acute lack of knowledge. Or maybe I'm the only one on the planet that didn't know. An ancient fortified wall which formed the northwest frontier of the Roman Empire, it's in Scotland, was named as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO today. It's 39 miles across. 39 miles across, yeah. What is it? No, it isn't. No, it's not. For everybody that said Hadrian's Wall, you're wrong. It's not Hadrian's Wall. I thought Hadrian's Wall was the border, the northwest border of the Roman Empire. And for a while it was. But before that there'd been another one, and it's this wall. Because Hadrian's Wall is already a World Heritage Site. And if you think about it, rightly so. No, this is called the Antonine Wall. I had never heard of the Antonine Wall. Had you? No. Had you? No, exactly. Well, that's it. Now, how big it is or whatever, I have no idea. It joins a host of renowned sites throughout the world to receive the honour from UNESCO World Heritage Committee, including, of course, the Great Wall of China and Stonehenge. Erected, this is the Antonine Wall. It is north of Hadrian's Wall. The Antonine Wall was erected almost 2,000 years ago. The barrier ran across the country's narrow waste from Bowness in the east, not that Bowness, no, to Old Patrick in the west. Although much of it was destroyed over time, sections of the fortification can still be seen at several points. So there you are. The wall, which was completed in 142 AD, takes its name from Emperor Antoninus. Antoninus? Is that how you say it? Antoninus. So there, and it's the Antonine Wall. Isn't it? Antoninus Pius. Yeah. He ordered it in a bid to halt the advance of the Caledonian tribes into southern Scotland, which was then under Roman rule. I know. I love that. I love the fact that there's a big lump that I'd never heard of. And people are saying, oh, it's fantastic, the Antonine Wall, you really must go and see it. And I will, I'll go and see it. I don't know where it is, other than what I've just read, and where you can actually see lump. Have anybody seen it? I mean, you know, they might have done. Yeah. Malcolm says, is our treat that you're nicking off early because it's your last day before your holidays? No, Malcolm, that's not your treat. It's worse than that. Or better, depending on which way you think. I won't be talking for 2.5 minutes, that's for sure. So that'll be a first. Yeah. But there you are. So there you are. I've done that. Got that out of the way. Not really got anything else. Don't know what we're going to do for a couple of hours. I'll tell you what, I'll do this, and then if you've thought of something, that'll be great. And if you've not, well, we're stuffed.
Heather Stott, the best guess. And a no dull people guarantee.
Now, how did you get to become a financial guru? What's your history in all of this, Alfred?
Well, in the mid-'80s, I moved to Wall Street for a job, and I looked around, and several people I had gone to university with were not just millionaires, but they were billionaires.
Heather Stott.
So when you were growing up, you weren't trained from, you know, being at home to be good with cash?
No. We were so poor, we could not even afford the O-R in the word. We were poor.
Heather Stott, tomorrow morning from 9 on BBC Radio Manchester.
Right, Cliff's saved the date. You can as well if you want to join in. 0161 228 2255. I'm doing beggar all today. It's my last day. I've brought all my toys in. And you can text on 07786 206 951, and you can email radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk. And my plan is to do sod all. So anything you come up with is fine by me, and you'll get an easy ride, because, frankly, I'm on my holidays tomorrow. I can't be asked. Cliff in Scoutshead. How are you doing, Cliff?
Hello, Alan. I haven't spoken to you for many years, but I just thought I had to get this off my chest. I've been waiting to go in hospital now for 6 months. Everything's been sorted out. I should be going in tomorrow morning. I'm going to tell the hospital. 7 o'clock in the morning. Just got a phone call now. It's cancelled.
Oh, dear God.
Lovely. And what annoys me, we keep reading in the papers, don't we? The health service getting better. So many billions have been pumped into it. Waiting lists are coming down. A waiting list coming down because they keep cancelling appointments.
Well, no, I mean, logic says that would make them go up, because you'll now be back on the waiting list.
I know I am, but it's cancellation. The people I know who were having appointments cancelled. I go to the eye clinic in Oldham.
Really?
3 cancellations since Christmas.
Good Lord. How was it? I mean, what reason were you given for the cancellation?
Today, none.
You didn't give you a reason?
No, you said, I'm very sorry, Cliff, it's cancelled. I said, well, that's chairman. I got everything in. I mean, I'm 78-year-old.
Good Lord.
I have somebody in to look after my wife and, you know, get things organised. And
yeah.
You build up to these things, don't you? It's like...
I've never had to, but I presume you do, yes.
Well, it's like standing on the scaffold and somebody saying, hang on a minute, pal, you're off, you know.
Well, you wouldn't mind that. That would have an entirely different emotional response. Wouldn't it really? You'd say, well, fair cop, yeah, no, I don't mind going home. No, have you got the bus fare? I don't mind.
Right, then they buy taxi. And another thing is, at this appointment at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would have had to get a friend to run me, because the ambulances don't start till 8:30 in the morning.
Right, yeah, the delivery ambulances, yes.
I've been arguing, oh no, the only people who can go, which is fair enough, are dialysis patients, and they start at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the earliest they go, and they go by taxi. But ambulances, no. I mean, when I've been before to it's Salford Hospital, They've been quite good, but just this one now, they've all said, "Ooh, they've never thought of that."
Did you not ask them? Did you not ask them
What?
why they've cancelled it?
I was a bit dumbfounded, really. You know,
I suppose, yeah.
I just said, "Oh, that's, I can't understand that. Why?" They said, "Well, we'll try and get in before the end of the month." But anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you. I just want to get it off my chest. I know you're a good listener.
Well, I am today, because everything else involves work, and I'm trying not to do any.
Where are you going?
I'm going France, but...
lovely.
Well, we'll wait and see, shall we?
I wonder what the weather's like. Have you seen on the news today?
Oh, hello.
Well, where we lived yesterday, there was an almighty crash. I thought, well, the atom bomb's gone off.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this cyclone, apparently. It shows this great big spout it's on the internet, actually.
Really? What, in Scout Head?
No, over East Lancashire, but by God, when it went off here, it rattled away. Everybody was coming out the windows. What the hell's going on?
Good Lord.
And the best part about it on the net, it shows somebody's washing being sucked up into this water cloud. It's quite funny, really. Not for the people who's washing it is, but somebody's caught it on the... I thought it's put a camera phone or something like that.
Oh.
So, anyway, have a nice holiday, Alan.
I'll do my best. Thank you very much, Cliff. And have a nice operation if you get it done before I come back. It all goes according to plan. Hospital cancels his appointment after he's been waiting for 6 months. It's not on, is it? Now, there might be reasons. The surgeon might have dropped dead or be unwell. Or it surely can't be his holidays because, well, you'd think he'd plan his holiday. Or hers. Oh, apparently the Antonine... wall, have I got it right? Because I've put the paper down now. You can see bits of the Antonine wall in Glasgow. It's not much more than an earthen rampart, apparently. There you go. There's also a bit at Duntoucher, is that how you say it? West Dunbartonshire, which is west of Glasgow. West of Glasgow? I thought the ocean was west of Glasgow. Anyway, there you are, so thank you for that. Well, that's worth having a think about, isn't it? It is. Alan, why all this fuss over biofuels? I've been running on biofuels for years. I've just had some nice bacon and toast biofuel. If I understand... that's what Neil says. If I understand correctly, you'll be in France on the 10th of July. The 10th and the 23rd anniversary... The 10th is the 23rd anniversary of the sinking of Rainbow Warrior. Do feel free to mention this fact to the citizens of France whilst you're over there. Well, it wasn't the citizens that did it, it was the government. And that's like saying that we, the citizens of the United Kingdom, or more accurately, the subjects of the United Kingdom, are to take the blame for everything that our government has done. And frankly, I'd rather not. Equally, I wouldn't want to take the credit for everything that our government has done. The Pope's been speaking. We've got a translator. And the Pope said the Vatican regrets a decision by the Church of England to allow women bishops, saying in a statement that the ruling would present a new obstacle to the reconciliation between the Holy See and the Anglican Communion. Or, put another way, sod off you proddy dogs, you've started liking women. I think that was the direct translation, but it loses a bit when it comes from the Italian to the German to the Latin to the English. But I think that's a fair summary of the point of view. The Antonine Wall. That doesn't tell me anything. The Antonine Wall. Yeah. OK, still a wall. Well, except it's not a wall, it's apparently just a few clods of earth. But hey, come on, it's in Scotland, so it's got to be pretty. Quite. 0161 228 2255. If you've something to say, that's fine. Don't you worry. We'll take it. We're not bothered. We'll take out today, but I would prefer not to have to do any work. So I'm just going to read stuff. That'll be easy. Oh, actually, this is interesting. I didn't realise that when I picked it up. There's been a big increase in the number of people stopped by the police in England and Wales. We're not talking about traffic police here. New figures just released by the Ministry of Justice show that nearly 1 million stop and searches took place in 2006-07. That's an increase of 9%. The highest figure for several years. And this doesn't surprise us either. Black people were 7 times more likely to be stopped and searched than white people. Asians were twice as likely to be stopped and searched as white people. Most of the stops across all ethnic groups were for suspected drugs offences. There's also been a huge rise in the number of people stopped by police and asked to account for themselves, up by a third to 1.87 million in 2006-07. These stops have only recently been recorded by police, have been at the centre of controversy because of the amount of police time taken up by filling out the relevant forms. And again, black people were twice as likely to be stopped as whites. And then there's some other statistics, well, I'll give you in a minute. But just imagine if we had the ID card. 1.87 million people were stopped for no substantive reason. No substantive reason. They were just stopped by police and asked to account for them. Excuse me, laddie. Can I see your papers? That's how they used to catch the prisoners of war in the Great Escape, didn't they? Papers? Here you are, mate. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah? That's how the Nazis ruled. It's how the Soviets ruled. It's how Britain wants to rule. 20 past, just after 20 past 12, news headlines. Faye Rusco.
One of Britain's major house builders has announced that sales have fallen by more than 30% over the last 6 months. Manchester Airport's lost one of its international routes. Malaysia Airlines says its service to Kuala Lumpur is being abandoned. And some of Greater Manchester's most historic buildings are under threat, according to English Heritage. On the list is the former London Road Fire Station in Manchester and the former public baths in Salford. Manchester's weather, sunny spells, occasional showers, highs of 17 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Starting Withington, Wilmslow Road's queuing up because the road's partially blocked off by a broken down bus outside the Royal Bank of Scotland. It's on a very narrow section of the road around Copson Street and Burton Road, so watch out for queuing traffic in the area. Taking a look to Key Street in Manchester, the A34 seems fairly quiet for the moment, whilst waterwork maintenance work continues between Addison Street and Byram Street, so that stretch on the inbound has been closed, with a diversion set via Water Street, Liverpool Road and Deansgate. And if you can update me further on the traffic and travel situation where you are, then why not call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
You're never more than 20 minutes away from the latest traffic through the day.
BBC Radio Manchester.
I said I'd give you some statistics, and I shall. The report that I was just reading from, or at least reading the press release from, the report also shows that 11% of homicide, now that's a bit American for my taste, but no matter, it is an English word, so we'll let it pass. But 11% of homicide victims are black, although they only make up 2.8% of the population. 8% are Asian, where they make up 4.7% of the population. 27% of black victims died from shooting, compared to just 5% of white victims. What can we deduce from that? Certainly, as a proportion of society, more black people die in are murdered, than white people, as a proportion of the community, if you like, a proportion of the separated out figures of the community. So 11% of homicide victims are black, although they make up 2.8% of the general population. Well, if you round those roughly to 12 and 3, there are 4 times more black people murdered than there are proportionately in society. 4 times more black people are murdered than there are proportionately in society. And a quarter of them, in excess of a quarter of them, 27% of black victims died from shooting. Now, if this was 60s America, we would think it was because there were white vigilante groups going round taking pot shots at black people in the street. But it's not. It's not. And I know they're celebrating in the Manchester Evening News today that for the past, I think it's 6 months, there has not been a shooting in Moss Side. Fine, good, I'm pleased. But there's no escaping these statistics. There is no escaping the statistics. The number of black people who are shot to death is considerably greater, proportionately, than the number of white, Asian, Chinese, do I say Oriental, Eastern, whatever. Certainly, considerably more. Now that's disturbing, isn't it? What does that tell us? Does it tell us that these crimes are black people on black people? If you link them to the number of people who were stopped, 1.87 million, and a very high, again, an unreasonable, you might think, proportion of those were black people, they were more than twice as likely to be stopped, and many of the people stopped were stopped because of drugs offences. If you start to draw inference from those statistics, you end up with the black part of our community is, A, more involved in drugs and the gang wars that take place around drugs than the white part of our community or the Asian part of our community. That's not saying that every person, not by any stretch of the imagination am I saying that every black person is a drug dealer. I'm not even saying, but an awful lot of them are. I am saying that the statistics seem to indicate that you are more likely to be involved in criminal drugs activity if you are black than you are white. You're still considerably unlike it, and we can't make that deduction, but if you picked 100 people and they were all white, the chances of them being a gun-carrying drug dealer are almost zero. The chances of 100 black people being rounded up randomly, then the chances of one of them being a gun-carrying drug dealer are considerably higher. What does that tell us? It tells us all sorts of things. It tells us, if you want it, if you want the sort of racist view, it tells us that black people are nasty, horrible criminals compared to us white angelic virgins. The other way of looking at it is the pressures on people who are black are considerably greater than the pressures on people who are white. Black people meet racism every single day in our society. They meet it when they go for jobs, they meet it when they go shopping. They meet racism every single day. And it's very, very difficult to feel that you belong to a community, a wider community, if you are singled out as being different and not part of. Young people. They say young people don't behave properly anymore. They don't behave like they belong in society. Well, as long as we think they don't belong in society, as long as when we see 4 young people walking along the street, we think they're just looking for somebody to stab to death, as long as we hold that point of view, then clearly young people are going to think, well, it's not my society. Why should I give a stuff? And we've had that for donkey's years with black people. You see 2 black people together, 2 black blokes together, and you think, oh, blimey, look at them, I bet they're plotting a drugs deal. Well, they're not. They're probably talking about the football or last night's telly or the washing or their kids or whatever. The same things that if you see 2 white people. But if you treat them as if they are not part of wider society, then some people in that society will say, I'm not part of this society. I just happen to live in it, and I'm going to take from it what I can. That's the scariness of those statistics. What do you say? That's more important by a long way. 0161 228 2255. If you want to join us, you can. It's dead easy. Dead easy. And apparently I've been selected, which is good news. I don't know what for, but it involves me doing nothing according to this and getting an awful lot of money, so that's great. Congratulations, it says. Oh, that's what I get. Yeah, I've been selected to receive 250 free business cards and a freeholder. That's fantastic, that is. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nothing could please me more. And if you go on the website of North West Tonight and you go to latest stories, you will see the washing line going up to heaven. Ha! Says Joyce in Rochdale. So it was on the telly, was it? Well, I didn't watch North West Tonight last night, so I'll have to look and see. Oh, here we go. Wait a minute. Your weather pictures. There it is. A gallery of... Oh, look. That doesn't look like washing line. That's Porth Diana and Triodor Anglesey by Elaine Baker. That doesn't help me. That's no good. Is Elaine Baker related to Mary Baker? Let's have a look. We got next. Oh, no, that's not it either. Right, I'm giving up. I can never find my way around websites. Get on my nerves. Anyway, Joyce, thank you for the information. But it didn't really deliver. No, not for any fault of yours, but entirely because of me. I can't find my way around websites. Primarily because I can't be bothered. It's a constant... it's a constant mantra of mine. I can't be bothered. It's just weird. Brian says, Alan, there's been much coverage in the media recently about knife crime, and Channel 4 have been running their Street Weapons Commission. One of the things repeated is that many young people appear to be desensitised to violence and its effects. I've long believed that video games may play their part in this, and recently a personal experience got me thinking more about it. I was visiting my 7-year-old grandson, who, for his birthday, had received several games for his games player. One was a fantasy adventure involving him playing the role of a prince from ancient times, battling his enemies. All the game consisted of was him thrashing and killing large numbers of people with a large sabre. Whereas his enemies always died or were injured, he, as the prince, always survived. This got me thinking, and I thought, what's the difference between this and when I was young watching films of sword fights? Nothing really, I concluded, but then I realised there was a big difference. In the old films, I was just a passive observer to the action, but my grandson, aged 7, was the person doing the maiming and killing. With many young people older than my grandson watching ever more violent games than this, the game with my grandson was watching seems relatively tame. However, it disturbed me. Am I right to be disturbed, or are they only a game to children and young people? I suppose the answer to that question, it varies from person to person. I've got absolutely no idea. I've not, honestly. And the evidence presented by those that are supposed to have an idea, those who are supposed to know, the evidence presented, frankly, are not that... It's not conclusive. In some cases, it looks very much like, yeah, young people been involved in playing these cruel, if you like, these murderous video games, and they turn more to violence, but there is no cause and effect evidence. Very difficult to assess. Do you remember the Bulgers? Do you remember Jamie Bulger? I hesitate, for I very nearly fell into the trap of calling him Little Jamie Bulger, which is what people did. But do you remember Jamie Bulger? The judge in that case appeared to refer to the two lads involved, the two killers, playing a particularly violent video game. And he made reference to it, I think, in his summing up. But there was no evidence presented in the court case, no evidence presented at all that they'd watched these games. It was a very bizarre thing. But anyway, there you go. Steph in Old Trafford says, Hi, Alan. What are your thoughts on David Cameron's speech telling poor people it's their own fault that they're poor? That's Steph in Old Trafford. Well, he's right, of course. He's right. I mean, it is entirely your own fault if you're poor. Of course it is. Just like it's all down to him, and we must applaud him, that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and managed to save up to pay for himself to go to Eton. And his little cronies with him as well, who are now the front bench of the Conservative Party, basically. That Osborne Waller from round here, another Eton crony. Boris Johnson, another Eton crony. Of course, They think it's your fault if you're poor, because they want to take the credit for being born rich. Yes, I know it means they're stupid, but we knew they were stupid anyway. But that's what it is. If Cameron did actually imply that it's poor people's own fault that they're poor, then he's falling into the Tebbit crap, isn't he? When my dad lost his job, he got on his bike and got another. Yes, Tebbit, but there wasn't 5 million unemployed at the time, you great barnpot. Exactly. So if that's what Cameron said, then he's a cretin. But he probably hasn't said that. That's probably, even he couldn't be that stupid, surely. He's probably just been interpreted that way. But well, you can't be entirely sure, can you? But he did. It's probably just been interpreted that way. A bit like Gordon Brown saying that people should waste less food and they could save £8 a week. Try telling that to a retired person who's living on state pension. Try telling that. They don't spend £20 a week on food. They haven't got £20 a week to spend on food. I promise you. If they cut their cloth according to their needs, they're not going to save £8 a week. They're just going to carry on being indecently poor, and they're going to carry on being the victims of this ungrateful society. So if David Cameron said specifically it is your own fault you're poor, then the man's a cretin. But I don't think he did. I've not read, I can't read everything he's supposed to have said. It's not possible. He's said a number of things about how you can get yourself out of poverty, you know. He's also attacked today, well, he did it yesterday, it's in the papers today. He claimed that Britain was turning into a demoralised society with little grasp of the difference between right and wrong. And we've said this now. He's been listening to us. That's what Cameron's been doing. He's been listening to us. In the most outspoken attack on declining moral standards, he argued that political correctness and oversensitivity were destroying discipline and responsibility. The Tory leader risked controversy by suggesting that some of the obese, lazy or poor, spent too much time blaming social problems rather than their own lack of moral fibre for their shortcomings. Social problems are often the consequence of the choices that people make. There is a danger of becoming, quite literally, a demoralised society where nobody will tell the truth anymore about what is good and bad, right and wrong. That's what he said. He doesn't say it's your own fault if you're poor, nor does he say it's your own fault if you're a victim of crime. But it's very definitely your own fault if you're fat. If you're obese, then you are to blame. That's it. You can tart it round. You can say, oh, well, I've been given that and I've been given it. I mean, if it's a kid, fine, it's the mother's and father's fault. But if you're fat, if you're obese, there isn't anybody else to blame. Get off your ass, other than to turn the telly over or to go to the fridge. It's that simple. Eat less, move more. It's not hard. And you don't have to be thick to be fat. You can be dead clever and still be fat. So in that respect, when he's saying people are obese, it's because of the choices they made. Yeah, it was the choice to have 3 pizzas instead of 1. It was the choice to eat chocolate instead of, I don't know, an apple. So he's right in that. He's also surely right in saying that we have lost the definition of what is right and what is wrong. You and I know, we know what's right. We don't always do what's right, but you and I know what is right and what is wrong. We know when we see behaviour by our neighbours, by our friends, by our children, our parents, our siblings, whatever. When we see anybody doing something wrong, we know it's wrong. We haven't got a problem with understanding it. What we don't know is how to deal with it. What we don't know is how to change that. What we don't know is how to get the people who seem to do what they believe to be wrong to do instead what they believe to be right. Surely that's the big question, and the way to achieve that, again, is to make everybody realise that they are part of this collective we call society. Because if you don't believe you're part of it, you're less likely to care about it. That's the reality of sociology, I'm afraid. 0161 228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and of course you can text on 07786 206 951. It's 20 to 1. The news with our very own dear Faye Rusco.
Times are getting tighter. For the first time, the British Chambers of Commerce showed companies of all sizes were showing a decline in sales and orders. Police in South Manchester are hunting robbers who placed a gun to the head of a taxi driver. And a huge collection of toy cars found in a house in Cheshire will be auctioned at Marshall's in Knutsford later today. Manchester's weather, sunny spells, occasional showers, highs of 17 Celsius. I'm Faye Rusco.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Let's take a look firstly to the M62, and if you're travelling eastbound away from Manchester, there's been a multi-vehicle collision involving a tanker, a lorry and a car just before junction 22 Rushworth Moor. Now the inside lane is blocked off because the tanker's partially encroaching onto that lane from the hard shoulder. All emergency services are en route to the scene and traffic's queuing up in the area. And now to the M6, and fairly quiet thankfully between junction 22 Newton Willows all the way up to junction 26 at the Oral interchange. Everything moving well north and southbound. No problems on public transport. If of course you know different, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Carl Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports.
Good afternoon, I'm Ian Cheeseman. Chelsea have told Inter Milan that they won't even discuss the possibility of selling Frank Lampard. A statement on the club's website a short time ago says Chelsea have informed Inter that we will not enter into any discussions regarding the transfer of Frank. Manchester City's record signing Joe and United's Anderson have been named in Brazil's squad for the Olympics in Beijing. If successful, they might not return until the end of August. The UEFA Cup is to be renamed the Europa Cup from next season. It's hoped the rebranding, as they call it, will help improve the competition's image. Bayern Munich's Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who's expected to be named as the newly formed European Club Association chairman today, wants bigger prize money too. And the Scottish FA are to take the unprecedented step of asking their fans if they want to face Argentina in a friendly later in the year. The cost of the staging the game means that ticket prices would have to be higher than they charge for competitive fixtures normally. Turning to cricket, and Durham say they will appeal if the ECB makes them face Yorkshire at a later date as a result of the late postponement of their 2020 game due to questions of the eligibility of a Yorkshire player, whose chief executive Stuart Regan has accepted qualified responsibility for the incident.
Ideally, we would have wanted to come to a conclusion with the ECB that would have allowed the match to be called off before it was. We provided the ECB with facts over the weekend. Unfortunately, they were not able to get them cleared with their lawyers before the middle of yesterday afternoon, and unfortunately that's why the match was called off when it was.
Well, tonight it's Lancashire in action. They're at Middlesex, actually playing the game at the Oval because of the Lords being used for a test match later in the week. The winners of the overall competition, should Lancashire go through, of course, will be involved in the so-called Champions League, which, according to the Lancashire boss Mike Watkinson, is an enticing prospect.
Oh, it'd be great. We'd back ourselves to compete with the best sides in the world in a competition such as this, and it'd be a great stage for us to show that. What we've got to do is do the small bits first and get in the final at the Rose Bowl, and then hopefully somebody will give us some clear definition as to who's going to go in it, which teams are going to be allowed to play and which players are going to be allowed to play.
There's ball-by-ball commentary of that game starting at 20 minutes to 6 this evening right here on BBC Radio Manchester, or you can follow it online, bbc.co.uk/Manchester, and then follow the links to the BBC player. Amir Khan claims that there's nobody in this country who can make him a great fighter. The Bolton boxer is flying to America today to find a new trainer.
I'm going to be travelling to America next couple of days. Got a couple of meetings with a couple of coaches down there, a couple of training sessions. I'm going to Las Vegas, and then I'm going to Miami. And then I've got a couple of coaches flying down to England to see me and to train with me here. Because I know there's a lot in me that needs to be brought out. I've got that style. I just want to work on a couple of things, and I know the only coaches who can do that are the Americans.
And Sale's Dwayne Peel expects to be fit for the start of the rugby union season. He's made a quicker than expected recovery from shoulder surgery.
Scratch the surface. You get a mystery.
So what do you want to do, Gillian?
Well, we have a medieval riddle to solve. So we start digging.
Dig a little deeper, and you get an adventure.
Looks like we found the identity of our guys. Knights Templar.
What have you done? What have you done?
The search for the truth is beneath us. Bone Kickers starts tonight at 9 on BBC One.
Everybody knows archaeologists are balmy. No, don't start with me. I'm telling you, they're all balmy. Absolutely crackers, waddling about in the rain with their trowels in their hand. Dear God, we shall see whether the programme that we're all going to watch at 9 o'clock tonight, aren't we? We're going to be glued to it. Yes, we will see whether it indicates the degree of their balminess or not. Jeff in Lim, how are you doing?
Hi, Alan, how are you?
I'm all right.
I hope it's better than television last night. Bloody hell.
What was on?
Oh, God. It was on the news. I mean, I don't watch a lot of telly, but every time you switch the news on, there was someone beating the gums about food waste.
Oh, I know.
Oh, God. Well, what, I mean, I just felt like, hang on, I'll have a good rant. Because this food waste thing, if you go outside any supermarket, they've got skips. And the skips are full of food that they term has gone out of date. Walk round any supermarket, there's 2 for 1. And people are buying food they don't need. The food supermarkets, when they were first conceived, because one MP come on last night and said that years ago, people went shopping just for the day. Well, I remember that. My mother used to go shopping basically for the day or for 2 days in advance. But you used to have shops in the village. Them shops have now gone. They have supermarkets. A lot of people don't have transport now, especially with the petrol prices going up. So when they go to the supermarkets, they probably buy more than what they need, but that's an economic decision because they can't get there every day. And these MPs are going round now ranting on about it's all our fault, it's all our fault, and it's not our fault. The supermarkets now control the food. They dictate to the farmers exactly the price they're going to pay. Farming now, you've got set aside. They make money for not growing food. Sheep farming isn't worth having. I mean, I go to Wales quite a lot. You talk to the farmers there, it costs more to shear the sheep than what the wool's worth, and they're having to just dump it. It's not worth having sheep anymore. The milk farmers, unless you've got a massive farm, it's not even worth producing milk. It's not the way that it's the way things have been done. They've basically controlled all the food. The supermarkets have got control of everything. We've got plenty of land to grow food. The trouble is the government won't let you grow it. In the farming communities, I mean, whether it's true, whether it's not, I tend to believe that it is true. The foot and mouth outbreak. There was a directive come from Europe, you could only have so many sheep, so many cattle on the land. We had foot and mouth. There were 2 strains of foot and mouth, according to the farmers I know. You never get that. That was a man-made thing that started in the Lake District and spread down. They were set inside sleepers before the outbreak ever come about. Whether that's true, I don't know, but I only listen to the farmers. There's plenty of land to grow food. It's the governments of the world that are saying, no, you can't grow food. You had a place in Anglesey, I think about 2 years ago, where there was importing lamb from Asian countries and then calling it Welsh lamb because it was actually packed on Anglesey.
Quite, yes. That's always been balmy, hasn't it?
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you make some good points. We used to, years ago now, we used to have a farmer came in here about once a month, a lad called Todd Bulmer. Well, he used to come in, did Todd. And he was useful because he had a couple of animals, if I remember correctly, but he was mainly arable. He grew... He has one of those pick-your-own places and all of that.
It was Ashton, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Was it Ashton?
No, it wasn't. It was it was out towards Newtonley-Willers that way. I forgot the name of the place he comes from now. But anyway, and he used to always say, when we were talking to him, that the one thing he would like as a farmer is for the government to let farmers do what they need to do to sell. That was it. He always said that we should do... He doesn't want subsidies, he doesn't want anything like that. He just wants to be allowed to make a commercial decision. Will I grow potatoes this year? And if I do grow potatoes, will I be able to sell them? If my decision is yes, I grow them and I can't sell them, I go bust. That's it. That's just like the fella that makes jackets, underpants, motor cars, doesn't matter. He just wanted the freedom to farm. And to farm for money. And he said, I can't. I can't. There are quotas, there are all sorts of things going on. You actually have people, and I listen to the Archers, so I know all about this. You actually have farmers buying a milk quota, buying the right to breed animals, if you like, to get their milk, buying that right off another farmer. It's balmy.
It's just gone ludicrous. But what really upset me last night was with all these things going on, and the government, I mean, ever since Thatcher, I think it started then, but Blair went even worse, these control freaks that control our country. If you go into the who's who, 2/3 of the cabinet live abroad. Now, how are they getting there? They walk in there. They fly in there, and then they turn around to me and say, "Oh, you can't fly once a year. It's global warming. What's your carbon footprint?"
Yeah, I don't take much notice of it.
No, I don't, because it's a load of coddlers.
I mean, when I hesitate to say this, and it's going to cause me acute pain, and it might even stick in my throat, but you can't blame Thatcher for this.
Oh, no.
Well, you did.
But I think she was the start of it.
No, she wasn't, no. We had the Milk Marketing Board back from the old Labour government days. The Milk Marketing Board, the Potato Marketing Board, there are all sorts of other marketing boards. Ever since the Second World War, when the government effectively took over responsibility for growing food, and they never let go of the chain, the reins, if you like. They've let go of them bit by bit. The Potato Marketing Board is less of a force. The Milk Marketing Board is also less of a force. But they controlled everything at one stage. So you can't blame Thatcher. And to be fair to Thatcher, and I can think of no reason why I should, but to be fair to Thatcher, she was a free market politician. She would have, had she had the power, she would have let it all go and just said, you go away and make your money, and if you don't make money, go bust.
But don't you think that things have moved on, and now I mean, I know these boards were set up to make sure the quotas and all the rest of it, but don't you think now the supermarkets have gained the power?
Yes.
And the supermarket, the laws that were in power then are being misused. If we just go on to something else, the government I think it was the night before, and there was on about this homing allowance, and they called it the John Lewis set or something.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Yeah, they're going on about that. I thought, hang on, that homing allowance was set up, but now they're turning people against it by saying, oh, MPs are having this and MPs are having that. I think MPs, yes, they are misusing it, but that law was put in line so that ordinary people could actually go to Parliament, so they could get down to London and live there.
Correct.
And what's going to happen now is, once they scrap it, ordinary people won't be able to do that.
It's the same in local politics. People complain that councillors are now paid. Now, leaders of councils are paid comparatively well. They could earn more if they could get a job in industry, but they are paid comparatively well. Ordinary councils, not so well. But if you don't pay councillors, the only people who can do it are those who don't need the money.
Yep.
And frankly, that leaves it to the descendants of the wealthy.
Well,
it can't be anybody else.
Slowly but surely, this country is going back to them days. Actually, they're going back to the days of the Whigs, and the right of choice is really going. It's becoming now. If you're born into certain families, more and more now, then you will get on. And if you don't, I mean, everyone's going on about the match at tennis. Well, I was in the youngest. I was a little bit involved with somebody that was very, very good at tennis, and they finished up going to the school at Liverpool, which was one of the top ones at the time. And the trainer there told me there's no chance for him because he cannot advance anymore. We can't teach him anymore. He needs to go to America.
Well, you've just heard in the sports.
Boxer.
Yeah, Amir Khan saying, I've got to go to America. That young girl that we're all thinking she stepped out of high school into Wimbledon and won the junior championship, not a dog's chance.
No.
Not a prayer. She has got, now, OK, I think this is provided by the LTA, but she's got her own, would you believe, she's got her own physiotherapist, she's got her own dietitian, and she's got her own trainer. Now, you're looking at thousands and thousands of pounds a year. Now, they're provided, I believe. They're provided by the Lawn Tennis Association with all the profits they get from Wimbledon and the like. But the reality is that the girl couldn't be where she is now if she just, if she was born in, if she was born in Lee. And had ordinary working-class parents, she wouldn't be where she is now.
No.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure to talk.
Yes, have a good holiday, Alan.
I'll do my best. I know, on the subject of what you can do, I remember our insurance collector I must have been about 15 at the time, and our insurance collector, he actually used to do a part-time job as a taxi driver, I think it was. Well, I can't remember now, but he used to do a part-time job as a taxi driver in order to afford to put his daughter through ballet school. His daughter had passed an audition to go to the Royal National Ballet School in London, whatever it's called, and he did a part-time job and mortgaged his house in order to put his kid through ballet school. That's the kind of devotion working-class parents have to have if their children are good at something and want to pursue their dream. So, yes, the rich don't have those worries. Ian in the Trafford Centre. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Alan.
What have you got?
The Antonine Wall.
Oh, go on.
I've seen it.
Not all of it.
Well, a bit of it, yeah. A bit of it.
Go on, describe it to me.
Well, you'd be a bit underwhelmed. I think it was a bit of a muddy ditch when I saw it. They'd not looked after it very well since the Romans went. So,
yeah.
No, I was a kid, probably best part of 50 years ago, I guess. And I may not sound it, but I am actually Scottish born and bred. And my old dad, God bless him, had a flash of inspiration and brought the family to Manchester. And I had a lot of relatives in Cumbernauld, which was a rather nice village at the time. It's a big, sprawling, concrete new town.
It is now, yes. It's
it is
rather
now,
ghastly.
Yeah, it makes Wythenshawe look good, doesn't it?
Steady now.
Steady. We got on our bikes with my cousins and we rode down and we explored. We had to crawl through bushes and brambles and whatnot, and we did find it at a place called Castle Carey.
Yeah.
You'll hear Castle Carey on the travel news a lot.
You will.
You will. There was not much of a castle. In fact, there isn't a castle at Castle Carey, but it was the old Roman fort site, obviously next to the wall. But the one thing we did do, a bit cheeky, but when you're 10 and 12, you are a bit cheeky, aren't you? We knocked on the door of the manse, which is like the vicarage, and the minister very kindly showed us around the garden. We'd heard that they'd taken some of the stones from the fort and the temples and whatnot and built them into the wall around the manse, and he pointed out this stone was from the altar and that stone was from one of the plinths and whatnot, and then they took us along to one little bit, and of course bear in mind 12-year-old boys, you know what they're like, and he said, and these are the fertility symbols that they had, and of course they were rude bits, weren't they?
They were indeed, yes.
Yeah, there was much sniggering and whatnot.
Excellent.
Excellent. So we had a really good day. So yes, we did explore it. It does exist. It's so they may have tarted it up because I've not been back since. But
well, they'd happen after. Well, maybe part of the process of getting it tarted up and if you like protected further is to get funding, and one way of getting funding, of course, is to get it recognised by the World Heritage Committee.
Yeah, get it on a list or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's on one now. Well, thank you for that. I hold my head in shame that I have never heard of it until this day. So there you are.
Well, like I said, you'd have been underwhelmed if you'd have seen it. So.
well, I'm prepared to risk it. I might go up there and have a shufty anyway. Good on you. Thank you, Ian. 0161 228 2255. Margaret Hodge, the Minister for Culture, Creative Industries and Tourism, welcomed the World Heritage Site decision. The UK's heritage, both natural and man-made, is a fantastic national asset. It's the #1 reason overseas visitors cite for coming here, and it's a priceless educational resource. I am thrilled, she said, that the Antonine Wall has been recognised by the World Heritage Committee for its international importance, and I look forward to it taking its rightful place alongside so many other icons of our civilization around the globe. So there you are. That's Margaret Hodge, quoted, talking about the Antonine Wall. And I don't know about you, but my money's on her not knowing about it until yesterday either. The Antonine Wall's been made a World Heritage Site, Minister. Really? That's fantastic. Where is it? It's in Scotland. Really? I thought that was Adrian's Wall. No, it's the Antonine. Really? Well, there you are. Well, what can I say other than, isn't it fantastic? But Ian, thank you very much indeed. Got a treat for you in the next hour, my sort of bringing his toys into work treat. I probably stretched the word further than I should.
Join me, Becky Want, today from 2 with beachwear, barbecues and special guest Toyah Wilcox. BBC Radio Manchester.
That's nice. Good old Toyah. We like Toyah. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk and, of course, 07786 206 951.
95.1 FM.
DAB Digital Radio.
And the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, Manchester City's owner goes on trial in Thailand and a taxi driver has a gun held to his head in Manchester.
Amir Khan says he can't find a quality trainer in this country.
Well, this afternoon we've got sunny spells and occasional showers with top temperatures of 17 Celsius.
And the inside lane on the M62 eastbound just before junction 22 Rushworth Moor on the Leeds-bound carriageway is still closed off after a collision involving a tanker and a lorry and a car happened at around about 12:30. Traffic's queuing in the area.
Good afternoon, I'm Faye Rusco. Manchester City owner Thaksin Shinawatra went on trial in Bangkok today, charged with corruption 2 years after he was toppled from power in a military coup. He and his wife deny the charges, but if found guilty, could face up to 13 years in prison. Our reporter Jonathan Heads in Thailand.
In Thailand, it's unusual for powerful and wealthy people to be convicted. But the courts have shown a surprising tenacity in pushing ahead with this case against Mr. Thaksin. And I think now Mr. Thaksin supporters are beginning to realise that this is real, that the judges are determined to see this case through, and that there's a real possibility he could be jailed.
If you've been feeling the pinch, the big news from the business world this morning may not come as a surprise. For the first time, the British Chambers of Commerce says companies of all sizes are showing a decline in sales and orders, and one of Britain's major house builders announced that sales had fallen by more than 30% over the last 6 months.
Certainly in our business, the permanent vacancies will slow down because people will be being made redundant. But on the upside, with temporary workers, that should go through the roof, basically.
I think the evidence of rising inflation and the spectre of rising interest rates is a very worrying cocktail.
The cost of living, basically, I think is a big concern, yes.
Your thoughts there, but Eleanor Crone from the Greater Manchester Chamber fears we could be talking ourselves into trouble.
People have been talking about recession for the last 9 months, and you get caught up in it. It's similar to somebody being depressed. There's something like a cycle. You're depressed, so you're thinking depressive thoughts, and then you're doing depressive things. So basically, if we all wait for the hammer to fall and we start acting accordingly, yes, we're going to be in a recession.
Police in South Manchester are hunting robbers who placed a gun to the head of a taxi driver. 3 men threatened the driver with the handgun and a large kitchen knife as he tried to turn his cab round on the Roundthorne estate in Wythenshawe. The gang stole his takings and ran off. Detectives are questioning a man arrested in connection with the murders of 2 French students in South London. The 33-year-old was discharged from hospital where he was treated for burns. Gabrielle Ferrez and Lauren Bonhomme were tied up and stabbed dozens of times before their bodies were set on fire. Manchester Airport's lost one of its international routes. Malaysia Airlines says its service to Kuala Lumpur is being abandoned as it tries to survive tough economic times and high fuel prices. And a huge collection of toy cars found in a house in Cheshire will be auctioned at Marshall's in Knutsford later today. The collector was an elderly man who died recently. It took 10 car journeys to transport the models from their home in Lower Pever to Knutsford. Peter Ashburner is the auctioneer.
Over a number of years, he had obviously belonged to various collectors' clubs and had received vast numbers of these corgi toys and other toys as well, and he just accumulated a house full of toys, and certainly when I first went to the property it was quite amazing just to see this vast array of toys everywhere I went in the house.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Ian Cheeseman.
Chelsea have told Inter Milan they won't discuss the transfer involving Frank Lampard. Manchester City's record signing Joe and United's Anderson have been named in Brazil's squad for the Olympics. If successful, they might not return until the end of August. Rochdale defender Rory McArdle has signed a contract extension that keeps him at Scotland until the summer of 2010. Durham say they will appeal if the ECB makes them face Yorkshire at a later date as a result of the late postponement of their 2020 game due to questions over the eligibility of a Yorkshire player. Sri Lanka have replaced Zimbabwe as England's opponents next summer, and the Bolton boxer Amir Khan claims there's no one in this country who can make him a great fighter, so he's flying to America to find a new trainer.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, this afternoon we're looking at some good spells of sunshine, but also one or two showers around. Those showers, though, shouldn't be as heavy or as frequent as yesterday, and top temperatures will get to 17 Celsius.
Allan Beswick, halfway through your workday.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hello. Are you all right? Good. 0161 228 2255. I promised you a treat. I acknowledge that for anyone with any taste at all, this won't be one, but during the next 55 minutes, I'll do something you might like. And if you don't like it, you might at least find it interesting in that strange way. Anyway, it's coming up. The promise still holds. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And, of course, you can text on 07786 206 951. Derek in Manchester. Hiya, Derek.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate.
Good. It was just something you mentioned before. You were talking about sort of black people and tending to be more responsible for gun crime and drugs, etc.
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you're probably not wrong in that respect. But then you went on to blame it on the fact that they possibly suffered racism on a daily basis. And, well, to be quite honest, I think there's that many laws been put in place now that it's actually the opposite way around, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, if the police are actually using what they call positive discrimination to recruit people from minority backgrounds, then surely the pendulum swung the other way, and it's not racist. It's totally the opposite, isn't it?
No.
Well, of course it is.
Okay, well, yes, but I don't agree with you. But you want me to say yes, I'll say yes.
Well, if you've got establishments like the police force saying that they need to recruit people from minority backgrounds, no matter whether they're good enough for the job or not.
Well, the police don't say that, first of all.
Well, that's what they're inferring by saying.
No. If you
by turning down sort of white applicants for the same job, then surely it's positive discrimination.
Derek, you first of all quote the police. You fail to quote the reason, and you fail to completely quote the police. You say, and this is your belief, I understand, that if two people apply for the job of police officer, one of them is adequately qualified and white, one of them is inadequate, qualified and black, the black one will get it. That's what you think happens.
Well,
is that what you think? You don't need to say it again. Right, well, you're wrong.
Well, that being the case, I mean, we had a good few examples over the past year, haven't we, of police officers.
Sure.
Well, police officers fast-tracked through in them sort of circumstances, and then found out afterwards that they weren't exactly right for the job because they ended up getting done for different various frauds, etc.
It wasn't a white one that killed himself after screwing around.
Oh, well, we know about that
so
one.
So there are an awful lot.
Yeah, well, he was just.
It wasn't a black.
He was just a white liberal that was pushed up through the system.
It wasn't.
No,
he wasn't. He was an excellent copper. It wasn't a black one that was done for speeding on the motorway. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're going to make that kind of statement,
yeah, but
all I can say.
Statement that you made before, because
what I said.
Well, put the percentages together. How many? If we're talking about a minority, we're also talking about a minority in the force.
Derek, you're extremely good at misquotation. We all have to have a skill, and you've found yours. It's not serving you awfully well because it's making you look a bit daft.
Well,
but nonetheless, it's a skill, and you cherish it, mate. I didn't say what you just quoted me as saying.
You actually said before that a large percentage of gun crime and drug crime was being committed by blacks who are,
that is correct.
Who are a small minority of the people.
I did indeed say that. I did.
Well, haven't I just said exactly the same thing, only in a different way?
No, because you went on to say that I said it's because of racism.
Well, you did. You said that they were suffering from racism on a daily basis.
That I did say, yes. But did I link the two, saying cause and effect?
Well, you did actually. You did. You said maybe it's because of. racism.
Maybe. And did you also hear me say, because your hearing may be as selective as you're quoting, did you also hear me say that there is no evidence of cause and effect? Did you hear that?
I think I did actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, then why did you not take it on board?
By the same rule, the reason I wanted to phone you over that one was because you were virtually trying to put it across that racism was causing it to happen in this country.
Well,
but you omitted the fact that the culture where they're fetching it from in places like Jamaica, drug running is absolutely rife and gun crime is absolutely rife. And to me, that anyone looking at it logically would say, well, they're fetching the culture to this country.
Rather bizarrely, an awful lot of black people in this country have never been to the West Indies and don't even have relatives who've been to the West Indies or have relatives in the West Indies.
Well, maybe as Tony McNulty mentioned the other day on, I think it was Sky News, when he mentioned the fact that our kids now, because there's an epidemic of crime, maybe it's in the genes. That's what Tony McNulty quoted the other day.
I'm not about to. I'm not about to have a conversation with you about the genetic or the knowledge of genetics of Tony McNulty, frankly. But Derek, to come back to the discussion in the hope that we can get some reason into it, if a person, an individual, if a person is abused frequently by society, and you may recall I also quoted young people who are frequently abused in our society, and then we wonder why these were the phrases I used, why they don't behave as if they are part of society, some of them. If you treat a person as if they are not a full member of our society, some of those people will respond by behaving as if they're not a full member of our society. Whether they're Polish people, white ginger-headed people, Irish people, because they had a bad time in the 70s and 80s, Italian people, it doesn't matter. If you treat people as if they are not a full and privileged member of our society, some of them will behave as if they are not.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. But by the same rule, I just want. This is what I'm trying to get to. Where your understanding of people not being treated fairly. I think you mentioned our young kids. Are we not treating them fairly? Because they're not bought a dozen PlayStations a year, or because they don't get brand new trains? Is that why we're not treating them fairly? Is that why they're going out?
Well, Derek, first of all, Derek, I think it would be a far better way of treating a child to not give it a PlayStation than to give it a dozen.
But the way what you were just saying there, we're somehow not treating them as part of society.
Well,
if they're not behaving in a manner that fits society, then surely you treat them that way.
Derek,
In fact, I think we've been far too lenient with them.
You invented your own example. Let me repeat the one I gave, which your selective hearing or memory has appeared to have strike out again. The example I gave was a couple of young people walking along the street, and the grown-up sees them and thinks, oh God, there's two kids looking for someone to murder. When in fact, I don't think we can carry this conversation on any longer, Derek, because of your phone or our connection to your phone.
Why, is it gone?
It's not gone, but it's making one horrible noise. And I'm sorry, Derek, I would love to talk to you longer, but your telephone...
Oh, by the way, just before you go, did you get my letter?
I've no idea. You'll have to give me more detail. What did it say?
I left you a letter on.
Oh yes, I've got that. I've not read it. Yes, I have got it. I've not read it.
Well, do us a favour. If you don't want to be part of a cover-up, give us a ring back and.
I won't ring you back. The only place I communicate is on here.
Well,
have a good day.
That's what I say. Ring us back.
Well, I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to.
No. When you've had a chance to read it, I mean, well, you know what it's about. It's about the cover-up.
Well, I know what it's about. Derek, I've just said to you, I can't carry on talking to you because the signal is an abomination. It's doing something like you can't hear it, but everybody else can, and it's making awful wireless. My apologies. 0161 228 2255. But I do have your letter. It arrived. Well, it was on my desk. You just said it arrived yesterday It was on my desk this morning. I've not read it yet, but it's a big beggar. 0161 228 2255 if you've something to say. Malcolm says, yesterday North West Tonight ran a piece regarding a council who were considering offering a financial service, giving mortgage to people having problems obtaining one. This ran hand in hand with the story of a bloke who'd been trying to sell his house for many years. He was an older bloke living in what appeared to be a nice-sized ex-council house. So we have a council, I think it was Liverpool Council, wasn't it, Malcolm? So we have a council lending money to young families starting out so that they can buy an ex-council house off someone who needs to vacate it to get more suitable accommodation, probably the smaller flat that they are in. If Maggie Thatcher hadn't hoodwinked the councils into selling off all its asset, there would be plenty of affordable social housing available, and the fiascos like this would not be going on. People would not be slaves to massive mortgages for housing, which is a basic human right. That's Malcolm in Offerton. Well, Thatcher didn't hoodwink the councils. She gave them a direct order and refused to fund them unless they obeyed it. Not exactly hoodwinking, more an extremely strong order. 0161 228 2255. If you've something to say, that's fine by me. Just get on and do it. Simon says, Alan, we are responsible for what our government has done and are going to do. We vote for these cretins. We remain silent whilst they collude to invade sovereign nations that have done nothing to us. We remain largely silent after they are exposed for lying about their involvement in the extraordinary rendition flights, amongst other things. If we weren't bought off with gadgets or obsessed with the latest celebrity reality programmes or have become frightened to open our mouths because we've become debt-ridden consumer slaves, we would get off our backsides and make our way to Parliament Square and call these people out, whether the Serious Organised Crime and Police Act of 2005 permits it or not. I'd like to see them arrest a couple of million angry people. Well, there was loud and massive protests against the invasion of Iraq, both before it happened and after it had happened. But it changed nothing. But of course our system doesn't work in the way of the loudest shouter, and the most shouters get their way. Our system works on the basis of the most voters get some of their way. And that's it. And if you want to change the world, you won't change it by shouting. You might, I don't say you will, you might change it by voting. Kevin, it's not all bad news. If anybody's jailed for carrying a knife, they can be sure of missing out on their drugs. On yesterday's BBC News webpage, there was a side-by-side with two articles. Jail knife carriers and prison drug crackdown cost 80 million. If we can't stop drugs entering a building which has only one doorway for people entering, what chance is there of stopping people carrying weapons on the streets? No chance at all. What we've got to do to stop them is get them to want to stop. And I suppose one way of doing that, the thinking goes, is to make it a serious offence if they're caught doing it. How dare you say it's my fault I'm fat? I have a grand problem. Oh, bloody hell, I've just dropped my 6-meat pie on the keyboard. Terry from Tilsley, that was almost funny. And almost funny is the nearest we can hope for. Quite. 0161 228 2255. Like your caller, I was underwhelmed when I saw the Antonine Wall, and so would the culture be if she saw it or knew it. I've just been tracing part of the route of the map, on a map. For a few miles, I've followed it under a cemetery, a couple of golf courses, a canal, the Great West Road, which is the A82, a sewage farm, a housing estate or two. I've copied and pasted the Antonine Way website for your information. Let's have a look. Yeah, well, all right, so a lot of it's already gone. But that's a good reason for making it a heritage site so that some more of it can stay. Or at least what's left can be protected. Even if it is only a few lumps. I wonder about this. I mean, Adrian's Wall, well, it's Summit, isn't it? You know, Offers Dyke, yeah, which for years I thought was a very tall lady with a moustache, but Offers Dyke turns out to be a sort of another one of them pathways. It's like Adrian's Wall, with, as I say, with a moustache. Anyway, Offers Dyke, that went all the way around Wales. Quite a lot of that's gone. But that's no reason for not protecting the other bit. Indeed, I'd happily hear arguments suggesting we rebuilt it twice as big. Yeah, except when I want to go on my holidays, obviously, because sometimes I go to Wales. Just to laugh at the accents, really. There's not much in Wales, just Welsh people to laugh at. It's okay, though, especially if they're in national costume. We haven't got a national costume. And I used to wonder why we've not got a national costume. And then I saw the Welsh national costume and thought, thank God we haven't got a national costume. Anyway, it's 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. The news with Mark Edwardson.
Manchester City's owner, Thaksin Shinawatra, has gone on trial in Bangkok, charged with corruption 2 years after he was toppled from power in a military coup. Police in South Manchester are hunting robbers who placed a gun to the head of a taxi driver. And Manchester Airport has lost one of its international routes. Malaysia Airlines says its service to Kuala Lumpur is being abandoned because of economic concerns. Manchester's weather, sunny spells, occasional showers. You can expect highs of 17 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
No change in the situation on the M62 across the Pennines, I'm afraid. If you're heading Leeds bound, you'll notice the inside lane of the 3's been closed because of a multi-vehicle collision just before 22 Rishworth Moor involving a lorry, a tanker and a car. Matrix signs are set on the approach to warn drivers, but nonetheless traffic's still heavy in the area. Generally, other routes seem to be moving well. The M60, the M66 from Bury down to Manchester, and the M61 all seems fairly quiet from Junction 8 at Botany Bay all the way down to Junction 1 at the Swinton interchange, where it meets with the M60 at Junction 15. Don't forget, if you can update me further though, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
Hello. Are you all right? Good. Yeah. Should we do it now? Get it out of the way? No, probably not. No, I'm going to keep you hanging on. There's a song about that. I'm going to keep you hanging on. It's not much of a song, I'll grant you. We'll do it. I promise you a treat. I'll do it. More on the Antonine Wall. No, thank you. Seen that. Know everything I need to know about it now. And, Alan, the NHS is now instead of keeping people healthy while they live their useful lives, but tries, a bit like King Canute, to stop the tide of time, which is sure to come. We're all going to come to my God, and if they have tried in this world to find the truth and what is right for mankind, they'll find heaven. Suffering or death will be no worry. So says David. All right, fine. I don't know how that relates to the NHS, to be honest. You started off pretty good about the NHS, because you said the NHS is now, instead of keeping healthy whilst they live their useful lives, is trying to stop the tide of time. OK, I've got that. Then the idea that we're all going to come to God, that kind of lost it with me, because even the NHS isn't really promoting God, is it? You know? So there. I mean, they allow you to pray and all that. I was in an hospice at the weekend. I've never been to an hospice before to see someone, but I was in an hospice at the weekend. And, well, the bloke I saw, a pal of mine, the bloke I saw, he was, I don't know, what would you say? Nearer to God than me? By a long chalk. Probably. You never know. Bernard in Denton. Hiya, Bernard.
Hello, and I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, actually, about 5 weeks, actually, about the congestion charge.
Okay.
Now, I spoke to you at the time. I said I thought it was wrong that out of this innovation fund that they were going to give money to private bus companies.
Okay.
And you turned around and said that these private bus companies don't make any money. They don't make any profits.
Did I? I don't remember saying that.
You did, yeah, you did actually.
That's a bit long, and if you talk to Suter, he might tell you he's made a shilling or two, but go on.
Well, Well, I'm just going to say that now. In the last week's paper, it announced Stagecoach profits were 174 million.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday in Manchester Evening News, out of the fund, which is our money, they're going to give 363 million to go on the buses, which are all private companies since it was deregulated. Now, why should they give them all that money?
Well, just before you go any further, tell me how much profit the area you're talking about made.
Well, I'm saying Stagecoach. That's the only one was there.
What was their profit?
174 million.
Okay, 174 million. Keep that number in your mind, will you?
Yeah, I will.
174 million. You got it fixed?
I have.
Okay. How much was given by government sources to the industry?
Well, I have no idea. But
you quoted it earlier. You quoted it.
Well, I'm sorry. You mean how much going to give them out of the Innovation Fund?
Go on.
363 million.
Right. So, if you remove 360 million from Stagecoach...
Well, that's not all for Stagecoach. It's for all of them.
And, okay, but Stagecoach is the largest. Probably takes at least half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, half 360, work it out.
Well, yeah.
Have you done it?
180, yeah.
180, okay. Take 180 off the bottom line of Stagecoach. How much profit have they made?
Well, it's approximately it's £6 million loss as it happens.
So what did I say?
What do you mean, what did you say?
Well, you just quoted me as saying something.
Well, they made 174 million. So
but how much of that was a direct gift from the government?
Well, they got
on the figure you just worked out.
Yeah, right. Well, like
so
I said,
Stagecoach, without government subsidy, made how much money last year?
174 million.
No. Listen to the question. Stagecoach, without government subsidy, made how much money last year?
Well, he didn't say that. It was just.
You've just done the mathematics for me, Bernard.
Right. Well, 180 then.
No. That's not how much profit they made. Listen to the question again. Right. Remember the numbers and got you to fix in your mind.
Yeah.
Now here's the question again. Without government subsidy, how much profit did Stagecoach make last year? Remember
174 million.
No, without... listen to the question. Listen to the question. It's a tricky one, I know. Without.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that, Alan, do I?
Well, with... Let's try it the other way around. With government subsidy, how much profit did Stagecoach make last year?
Well, they made 174 million, I don't know...
Listen. With government subsidy, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree that Stagecoach is probably, if not more than, at least heading towards half of the bus suppliers in the country?
Well, how do we know that the government gave them any money?
We don't know that the government gave them money. You don't know? You're not sure?
Well,
You're in doubt?
No, I'm just... All I can forecast is what I read in the financial side.
Well, remember that 360 million figure? What was that about?
Well, that's what... out of this Innovation Fund, 363 million is going to the buses, which are all private companies.
I know.
How
much is it? How much is it, did you say?
360
million. Who's it going to?
They're going on the buses.
It's going on the buses. Is it going on the buses?
It is.
Okay, it's going on the buses. So if we work on the presumption that Stagecoach does roughly half the buses in Britain...
Yeah, they're going to get half the money.
They're going to get half the money. How much is half of 300... We might have done this before. It's ringing a bell.
180 million,
It's 180 million.
Yeah.
So if we take 180 million off Stagecoach, that will all be off the bottom line. They will make a loss of 6 million.
What do you mean take it off them? They're giving it to them.
That's why you think they make a profit. Don't worry. Oh, I'm going to give up. It's okay. It was simple arithmetic. Go on.
They've got shareholders, you know. They're a listed company.
I do know.
Their shares went up 27p today, so they went up. So it's quite reasonable to expect that they went up because they've had this money given to them by, going to get it off the Manchester Innovation Fund, or Greater Manchester.
Yeah.
Now, also, Alan...
You win, Bernard. Your arithmetic is absolutely superb. I advise you immediately to use your knowledge of the share industry and profit motive to sell your house, invest it in the city. You're brilliant.
Yeah, but it's also, Alan, can I speak about something else?
Oh, God,
now,
yes.
last week, you were about to ask a chap on your show, how he expected to have the congestion fund funded without having to have a congestion charge. I think it was from Hyde, that chap. Now, my argument is this, Alan. Our council has been buying airports up and down the country. They also own Manchester Airport, which a director from Peel Holdings said was worth between £6 and £8 billion.
Yeah.
Now, the people in Greater Manchester don't want to be, they're not capitalists, they don't want to be shareholders, they just want to have all their money invested in the services. Now, how come they don't sell Manchester Airport to Peel Holdings and use that money to fund the congestion charge?
Well, I can give you the answer that the airport and AGMA, because it's not owned by our council, it's owned by...
I know, there's 10 of them, yeah.
OK. So it's owned by the Association of Greater Manchester Authorities, and it actually makes a profit, and some of that profit wends its way back into the coffers of the local authorities.
I agree.
So that's that. Also, at the moment, any of the local authorities could, if they chose to, and I know they haven't chosen to very often, could, if they chose to, stop any development of Manchester Airport, quite simply because they own it.
Yeah, I know, but
However, if it was sold, it would then be owned by somebody else, and that somebody else would be able to develop it until his heart is content.
Yeah, I know that, but it's the same guy who owns John Lennon, isn't it? Peel Holdings. Now, all I'm
your
saying
point is?
The point is this: that if that airport was sold for in fact, I'm pretty sure he turned around and said they would buy it, Peel Holdings.
Well, let us not speak on behalf of Peel Holdings, but how would that help?
Can you imagine how much money it was sold for? What he says at £8 billion. Can you imagine how much money that would generate? It would generate more than what they're getting at the moment.
Well, I don't know whether it would. First of all, you have to work. You're working on the presumption that if it was sold, all the money, the government would sit by and allow all the money to go to the local authority, and there's no guarantee that that would to the local authorities.
They dropped our pension scheme. I know that.
Well, well, Derek, you seem to be saying sell it, even though we can't guarantee we'll get the money.
Yeah, but
that's what you just said.
You can't take it all. Surely you can't take it all.
The government didn't take, but took control or prevented use of all the money from selling council houses. All the money.
Well,
all the money. Local authorities, when they were forced to sell council houses, were not allowed to use that money.
Yeah, but I feel sure that he just at the moment he wouldn't. In a few years, it would probably take quite a few years. But it would still be better than us borrowing money and making individuals pay for it.
That's one way that would pay for it if the local authorities were allowed to do it. I'm not sure that they would, and I've not got the same faith in the generosity of Gordon Brown and whatever government follows him as you. We would also lose a degree of control that other airports do not have when BAA, which is now owned by a Spanish company, when BAA or any of those other organisations decide they want to expand their airport and build a new runway, they get on with it and the devil take the hindmost, and it's up to the extremely weak local authorities to try and prevent them. And if you don't believe that, have a look at Gatwick, have a look at Heathrow. Whereas in Manchester, because the airport is owned by the authority, if the authority, the representatives of the people, if the authority wanted to prevent development, they could.
Well,
just by not applying for it.
The thing is, Alan, though, do you think they should have spent money on these other airports when we needed money for transport systems?
Well, when you say spent money, again, I bow to your advanced knowledge of the way things work, but when you buy a business, and every Manchester United fan in Greater Manchester will tell you this, when you buy a business, you never, ever buy it with your money.
Oh,
you buy it.
Not.
You buy it with the bank's money.
But it's probably our money, isn't it? Basically, I mean,
no.
If it isn't our money,
is the answer.
It's not the council's money, then, is it?
It isn't the council's money, as I just said. Now, quote me. It was only a few seconds ago. I thought you might have remembered. What I actually said was, it is the bank's money. If you're buying a business, if you're buying a huge business, you do not go in your pocket or in your piggy bank or into your offshore account to get the money. What you do is you convince a bank to lend you the money to buy it. That is how big businesses are bought. Manchester United, the family, and I've forgotten his name and don't care, the family that bought Manchester United spent not £1 penny.
Oh, no, I know they did. I know they
And
did.
if Manchester Airport buys an airport, it doesn't come to you, the ratepayer, or the council taxpayer, and say, give us a bit more, we're buying an airport. It borrows the money using the airport it's got as an asset to borrow money to buy another airport. The money is provided by banks.
I realise that, Alan, but then
You didn't
again,
realise it 30 seconds ago when I
talking
told
about
you
the football,
twice.
though, now you come down to football, we also own Manchester City Football Ground, don't we? Or Eastlands, as it's called. Which is another thing which I think is, it should be sold to Manchester City, and that money could have been helped. There's lots of things what could have been done to help pay for this congestion charge without punishing a certain section of the community.
I think the simple answer is to quote a famous Conservative Prime Minister when Margaret Thatcher was selling off the state's assets, and he said, it's like selling off the Canaletto. If you sell off your assets, you can sell them once. If you make money from your assets, you can A, make money every single time, every single year. You can always use your assets, if they're making profit, to borrow money to use, so you have a better chance of being rich from owning a profit-making asset than you do from selling it. Unless, of course, you're a private individual who's built up a business from scratch, sells it and use the money to buy an apartment or something fancy in Spain. But the reality is that if you have a valuable asset, the best thing to do with it is keep it.
Yeah, well, the last thing I'll say then is we've got to fight against this congestion charge, I think, because if we don't fight against it, we won't win, or we might not win. Well, if we don't fight, we'll certainly lose. That's my...
Well, that is so. All of those who are against it should fight, and all those who are for it should fight, and hopefully the better party will win. Frankly, I don't have a view on the congestion charge.
Well, I thought you did, actually. Without being
you can think all
personal,
you
I thought
like.
you did.
Well, don't worry. Yeah, I'm glad you thought I did, because my life has not been in vain. But I don't have a view on the grounds that... The first one is a purely selfish ground, and that is that if it comes in, it's set at such a level that it won't affect my life a great deal.
Yeah, well,
Secondly, I don't have a view because I can see the merit and I can see the disadvantage, and I don't think that either of them fatally damages the the other.
Well, I honestly thought that the BBC had a
Well, I can tell
agenda, you know.
I can tell you uncategorically and without any chance of contradiction, the BBC does not have a point of view about the congestion charge. In fact, the BBC doesn't have a point of view about anything.
The reason why I said that, Alan, when we start talking about road hold-ups nowadays, it used to be road blocks, road hold-ups, but now it's congestion. They're trying to put the word congestion into your head, I think. You know, that might sound silly, but that's right.
Bernard, I've got to say to you that I am astounded that you think the BBC is that clever. I work here. I promise you, they are not that clever. Have a good day, Bernard.
OK, Alan.
Absolutely extraordinary that the BBC somewhere has a group of people, or maybe just one person. Maybe that's what the Director General does all day. I did bloody wonder. Anyway, maybe he sits there in his little office saying, do you know what, if we start saying, instead of saying traffic jam, if we say congestion, then everyone will think there's lots and lots of congestion. And then when somebody suggests there's a congestion charge, they'll think, well, it's good because the BBC has got us all thinking that the word congestion is bad. So, Thompson, is that what you do? Actually, the BBC annual report's out today. I wasn't going to mention it, obviously, but it is the BBC annual... I deleted it. We get sent it. I just deleted it. I'm not reading that crap. Anyway, let's see if I can find it again. It might be in there. It might be how we to keep using the word congestion in order to con the fee-paying public. Let's have a look. Oh, there it is. Blah, 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 blah. No, Doctor Who gets a mention. Cranford, Gavin and Stacey, Life in Cold Blood, and Radio 1's Big Weekend. That's it. You pay your licence all year round, and all we get in the report is Radio 1's Big Weekend. There's probably more than that. Oh, and the phenomenal success of the iPlayer. Yeah, I tried that. It made me eye hurt. That's terrible, isn't it? That was a really awful gag. I'm sorry about that. No, I'm not. I'm just having a look. This is just a précis for my benefit, because he knew I couldn't be arsed reading it all. Nah, nothing of any interest. The evening before, nearly 10 million people watched the thrilling finale of the superb season of Doctor Who. The weekend before that, the coverage of Glastonbury on the radio and online gave our audiences one of the wisest ever choices. Oh, God, I'm already asleep. No mention of the congestion charge in there. I've always had him down as a bit of a slacker. There you are. You see, what you forget is that the BBC is really... We're just spies. In fact, I'm terrified now of some bloke coming up with an umbrella and injecting me in the leg some terrible, fatal poison. Because we're just spies, us. We're all civil servants, really. Yeah. And you have to wear a top hat when you read the news. Well, that's what I told. It's 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. Let's hear the news from Mark Edwardson.
Manchester City's owner, Thaksin Shinawatra, went on trial in Bangkok today, charged with corruption 2 years after he was toppled from power in a military coup. Ministers have acknowledged that Britain faces a tough year ahead after one of the country's main business organisations, the British Chambers of Commerce, warned the economy faces a serious risk of recession. And the Afghan government hinted that Pakistan's security services were behind yesterday's bombing of the Indian embassy in Kabul, which killed 41 people. Manchester's weather, sunny spells, occasional showers, highs of 17 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, I'm afraid traffic's still slow moving, heading Leeds bound on the M62. The inside lane of the 3's closed off because of a multi-vehicle collision involving a tanker, a lorry and a car. Now, the tanker's on the hard shoulder and it's partially encroaching onto lane 1, so do take care around that area. Traffic really is backing up. Matrix signs set to warn drivers, slowing things down to 40 miles per hour. Police and Highways Agency staff are still in attendance. And in Rochdale, the A58 Halifax road's closed off both ways because of a building fire between Albert Royd Street and Smithy Bridge Road. A fire at a garage has closed off the road and the building contains gas cylinders, so it's going to be closed for some time yet between Rochdale and Littleborough. The diversion takes you off via Rochdale Road, Kiln Lane and Wildhouse Lane. And if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Carla Banks.
And Carla Banks has just inadvertently given me a cracking idea on how to slow traffic down. Never mind putting all these round signs on sticks at the side of the road saying 30. Why not put them on little pointed triangles in the road saying 30, and if you go more than 30, they puncture your tyres? That's the way forward, you see. It's not been thought out.
BBC Radio Manchester, Sports.
Good afternoon, I'm Joanne Smith. The ECB will make a decision on whether Yorkshire carry on in the 2020 on Thursday. Durham say they will appeal if they're made to play the game, which was postponed just before the start time last night. Yorkshire's Chief Executive Stuart Regan has accepted responsibility for the fielding of Azim Rafiq, despite incorrect paperwork.
Ideally, we would have wanted to come to a conclusion with the ECB that would have allowed the match to be called off before it was. We provided the ECB with facts over the weekend. Unfortunately, they were not able to get them cleared with their lawyers before the middle of yesterday afternoon. And, unfortunately, that's why the match was called off when it was.
Lancashire in 2020 action tonight. New overseas player Lou Vincent, who's replaced Brad Hodge, is raring to go in tonight's quarter-final against Middlesex at the Oval.
As a player, that's perfect because, sometimes you don't do well, and when you do well, it's a great feeling, but you're playing every second, third day during the campaign, so you're on the road and it's just something that's always going to happen.
You can hear ball-by-ball commentary of that game from 20 to 6 on BBC Radio Manchester or online at bbc.co.uk/Manchester. Sri Lanka will replace Zimbabwe, that's as England's opponents for next summer. Manchester City's record signing Joe and United's Anderson have been named in Brazil's squad. That's for the Olympics in Beijing. If successful, they might not return until the end of August. Rochdale defender Rory McArdle has signed a contract extension that keeps him at Scotland until the summer of 2010. Chelsea have told Inter Milan they won't discuss any transfer involving Frank Lampard. New manager Luis Felipe Scolari insists the midfielder has told him he wants to remain at Stamford Bridge. Amir Khan claims there's no one in this country who can make him a great fighter, so he's flying to America to find a new trainer.
I'm going to be travelling to America next couple of days. Got a couple of meetings with a couple of coaches down there, a couple of training sessions. I'm going to Las Vegas, and then I'm going to Miami, and then I've got a couple of coaches flying down to England to see me and to train with me here, because I know there's a lot in me that needs to be brought out. I've got that style, and I just want to work on a couple of things, and I know the only coaches who can do that are the Americans.
Bellevue Aces team manager Chris Morton feels he's found a new star in Danish rider Patrick Hugard. The 19-year-old impressed during his debut meeting against Coventry.
Many people have said to Patrick that, including myself, that Bellevue is not the easiest track to ride, which I think is often borne out with people that get into a bit of trouble after a couple of laps. You know, getting 4 laps together without any problems around here is not easy to do. But he rode it incredibly well for the first time he's here, and an impressive rider.
And Sale's Dwayne Peel expects to be fit for the start of the rugby union season. He's made a quicker than expected recovery from shoulder surgery.
Here's your treat.
Well, he's rude as they come. He's got a big fat bum. Don't fall anymore, he's sure to blow your brain. But if you want to laugh, send for his photograph. Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. All the nutters and the punks, the vampots and the drunks, try as they may, they never get him sweating. 'Cause he's a friendly howdo and a cheery word or two, like, "You're off me show, you nasty little cretin." Well, he's rude as they come. He's got a big fat bum. Don't fall anymore, he's sure to blow your brain. But if you want to laugh, send for his photograph. Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. Well, he's cut off more chaps than a doctor in a vasectomy clinic, and his advice would make you very sore. I swear it is no joke, I heard him tell a bloke, "Why don't you go and trap your willy in a door?" Well, he's rude as they come. He's got a big fat bum. It's not fun anymore, he's sure to blow your brain. But if you want to laugh, send for his photograph. Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. Well, he pulls the wings off flies, pokes potatoes in their eyes, sees little old ladies halfway across the street. With his finger on the button, he'll shoot you dead as mutton, and he's nastier than me granddad's sweaty feet. Well, he's rude as they come. He's got a big fat bum. Don't fall anymore, he's sure to blow your brain. But if you want to laugh, send for his photograph. Yeah, nasty Allan Beswick, wishing bugger off to Keswick, 'cause not a lot rhymes with Beswick. Yes, nasty Allan Beswick is his name.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's awful, wasn't it? Can't imagine why we didn't make a fortune out of that. Years ago, we made that. It was at 1985 we made that. Me, Dave Dutton and his band called Inclognito made that. He wrote it. It's another tuppence to his coffers for playing it. I don't know. Somebody came on a couple of weeks ago and mentioned the A4 record, a 4-played record. Oh, 4-played, that was very good. And I said I didn't have one. Well, my dad had one. And it's in pristine condition, unsurprisingly, but then so's both other people's. So I got it off him, and I played it for you. And that's it. That's your treat. That's as good as it gets. I have nothing more to say or offer. And if you're wondering where you can get a copy, you can't. Eddie in Whitefield. Are you ready?
How do you do, Alan? You've just preempted every damn thing I was going to say.
What?
I was going to say, what are you doing? Taking us back in the time lordship, you know, the TARDIS.
The TARDIS?
To 1980s.
It was 1985.
And when you said it then, I thought, oh, well, he's blown that gag.
Yeah, that's the gun, isn't it? Yeah.
You've had some good ones today, Alan. Brilliant comments, and it shows to me your programme, it makes people think. And on a serious note, there's been some very, very clever comments. Absolutely amazing. And I won't interject because, again, we're going to come up to voting, aren't we, in 2010?
Well, we don't know, but that's the latest it could be.
Yeah. And the way things are shifting at the moment, the economy is obviously damaged. But I will put me 10 penneth in. Why do people have so many credit cards?
I don't know.
I don't. I use debit.
Well, yeah, but if you...
I can only spend what I afford.
Yeah. If you are prepared to live within your means...
That's what I do.
You have no need of credit cards.
Indeed.
I use credit cards. I use them all the time. I don't have a credit card debt.
You don't have to say that, but you've admitted it now.
Well, I use credit cards. Like you use debit cards,
yeah.
I use credit cards, and then when the bill comes, pay it off.
Well, I don't have to.
Well, I know you don't, because it goes straight out your bank.
That's right.
The reason I don't use a debit card is because I would have...
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. I'm ahead of you.
So
you get the security.
Well, the security and all other gubbins, but it's just that's what I've done for years. And there isn't any impetus requiring me to change that, because when the credit card bill comes, I have a list of all the things I've bought and the price I've paid for them.
I get that on my debit as well.
Well, I know you do, and I then pay off the bill. And I don't have to do a calculation about, is there sufficient cash in the bank to meet this? I can just spend whatever I want. I mean, my credit card allows me...
Alan, you're not boasting now, are you?
No, I'm not boasting. I'm saying that
I get the point. I'm being flippant.
If I used a debit card, I say I was wandering along and I saw something, I don't know, I can't imagine this happening, but I saw something costing £500. I would have to, because I don't keep £500 lying about waiting for me. So I use a credit card, I know they'll pay the bill, then I've got time to arrange to pay that when it comes. Which with a debit card, I could end up in that occasion going overdrawn.
Well, indeed, I absolutely understand what you're saying.
So that's why I use a credit card. The danger of credit cards is when you don't pay it off.
Hang on, you're going to cut me off any minute.
I don't see why.
Well, thank you. The other thing, this David Cameron, I know you've got to be sort of unbiased. What a weird, convoluted... I know you read out the bit and he never actually said that, but they've made one issue out of this, haven't they? The fat and the poor. Good God, he thinks he's Prime Minister already, and he will be.
Well, we don't know that.
Come on, everyone I've met in life, I do get around a bit, and people have told me I didn't vote for Gordon Brown. I voted for Tony Blair. They're not looking at politics. They don't look at anything. They're looking for a figurehead. And I think he might have just blown some of his chances there.
He may have damaged his chances, and to perceive the next election as being Gordon Brown versus David Cameron, I wouldn't put any money on that.
No, I wouldn't.
So it might not be Gordon Brown that takes the New Labour into the next election.
The other thing I wanted to say, Alan, sorry to talk over you, it's just, the words you've used today, I won't repeat them, but you seem to be, I know you're going on holiday and you've mentioned that, it's like your swan song.
Swan song?
Yeah.
'Tis but a holiday.
You are coming back, aren't you? Promise me that.
Well, I cannot speak for the future, but the plan is that I'll be here on the 24th of July.
I hope so. Well, I really hope so.
I kind of hope so too, because if I get back when the credit card bill comes in, I won't be able to pay it.
It's as though you've sort of given up, and it's like, hey,
given up.
What the hell I like?
I gave up 25 years ago, mate.
Oh, give over, young man.
Good to talk to you.
You too, Alan.
Have a good day.
I love you.
016, oh dear. 0161228 2255. Barry in Offerton says, if you sell the airport to pay for improved public transport, you will still have congestion caused by cars, except they'll be dodging round more buses and things, so the problem's not solved. You see, the impetus to use the public transport is the cost of not doing, I suppose. Oh, yes, thank you for that. 0161 228 2255 if you've got something to say. Indeed. What's your banking knowledge like, says Simon in Warrington? When the bank issues a loan, mortgage or whatever, where does that money come from? Well, it comes from the depositors, of course it does. But the point we were making about the sale of assets and the like, what it doesn't do is come, when we're talking about Manchester Airport buying another airport, it doesn't come from the ratepayers, was the point I was making, the council taxpayers. Yes, it comes from the bank, which means, of course, that the bank is loaning it money, wanting interest back, and that interest and all the other costs of the airport, the operational costs, are borne by the users of the airport. Now, that's not immediately you and I. We're a step away from that, because the users of the airport are actually the airlines, not us. We use the airlines, but in the end the customer pays. Of course we do. But the idea of Manchester Airport being funded, if you will, from the council tax is fallacious. The purchase of other airports by Manchester Airport being funded by the council taxpayer is also fallacious. Indeed, you've got people from Liverpool, from Newcastle, from Birmingham, from all over the north-west, all over the north, really, Birmingham upwards, all over the north. People are using Manchester Airport, giving their money to the airlines that use Manchester Airport. The airlines that use Manchester Airport then pay Manchester Airport's extortionate fees, and the only money they make out of you or I is the money they make equal to that they make from everybody else in the north who happens to travel to the airport and buy a cup of coffee. So it does indeed, in the end, there is only ever the money of customers. But the point I was making, and repeat, is that the money doesn't come from the council taxpayer. For playing that, says Neil in Bebington, I'm going to sort out some French people and limpet minds to meet with your hire car. I think they'll do that anyway, mate. Brian says, what can I say? Fabulous. He needs help. I should seek help immediately. And Susan... Oh, no, you don't want that. That's a press release. I'm not reading that out. There are some levels to which I do not stoop. No, quite. Somebody, I can't find the email now, but somebody said, so that's why you don't play music. There it is, Tim in Worsley. Well, thank you for implying that that was music. It isn't. Yes, quite. 0161 228 2255, and I don't know why I mentioned this now, but what type... Oh, it was when I said the BBC was really just spies, and we mess with your mind. Laurie in Kingsley says, what type of a spy is going to bend down on his hands and knees to poke you in the leg with his poisoned brolly? A very conscientious one, perhaps. Yeah. That'd be a bit worrying. I suppose it depends in where you were in Manchester. If you see a bloke and he gets down on his hands and knees next to you, there are areas where you'd start running, aren't there? 0161 228 2255. What do you mean? I have no idea what that statement made. I just made it to get me through the day. Yeah. Where am I up to? I know. It don't matter in the end, does it? Oh, my God, what does Terry say? I don't know if you're aware, but some sad person is trying to sell a signed picture of you on eBay for $4.99 plus £1 postage and package. How big is it? £1? Bloody hell. If I see you in Tesco, can I get your autograph so I can make a killing on eBay? I wish you luck with that endeavour, Terry. Why are they trying to... Well, good luck to them if they get $4.99 for it. They've done all right. I wasn't for a second suggesting the citizens in France could be held responsible for the actions of the state. But people should be aware, like what the British and the US did in the early 1950s to Mossadegh government in Iran. No idea. Do try having a ride on a TGV. They are very cool trains indeed. Why would I want to ride on a train? God, I could have sat next to a poor person. Offers Dyke wasn't a very tall lady, so there, says David in Crumpsall. Apparently the pipe smoking stunted her growth. It's all right, I'm just clearing up the rubbish before I go on holiday. And there's a lot of it about. Ted in Moston says, I couldn't afford video games when I was younger, but I was still a sadist. There you are, you see, defeating the argument that video games make you cruel. He never had any, and he said is as cruel as anybody else. In fact, possibly even more cruel. What more can one say? That's it from me. Yeah, it gets a bit jumbled up now, but to a perfectly wonderful way, but jumbled in that they've got a duet standing in for me. Yeah, half each. I'm being cut in half. Yeah, I've got an advert running that quotes Solomon. You don't hear many of them. No, not Solomon Grundy, the other one. Anyway, I'll be back on Thursday, the 24th of July. Ta-da!
The comic who used to be a